Princess Anne and King Charles have been close since childhood, and they have a unique relationship that only siblings can have. Anne is selfless, especially when it comes to her brother, and she always puts the needs of others before her own, even when doing so puts her in danger. But now, she has shocked everyone by sharing a heartbreaking message with King Charles. What could Princess Anne have to say that will surprise everyone? Was there an incident involving her and King Charles? Or is this just one of her noble deeds that has come to light? Come and watch the film with us as we reveal Princess Anne's message. Princess Anne's early life and education. Allow me to provide some background on Princess Anne's life and schooling before we get into the specifics of this message. Many view princesshood as something out of a fairy tale, yet tragedy dogged Princess Anne's life from the very beginning. Anne, the only daughter of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip, was born on the 15th of August, 1950, at Clarence House. Many people's conceptions about royalty's formative years are unrealistic. Distance, responsibility, and expectations molded Anne's youth despite tradition and luxury. Queen Elizabeth II was born in 1952, when Anne was just 18 months old. As a result, her mother was elevated to the position of queen. The majority of Anne and Charles's care came from nannies and governesses, such as Catherine Peebles. She was educated by private tutors on the grounds of Buckingham Palace. But there wasn't much space for the usual bond between parent and kid in this setup. A lot of people say that Queen Elizabeth is like a distant mother because of all her royal obligations, but Anne has always rejected that. Princess Anne defended her mother, Queen Elizabeth, in an interview from 2002, stating that there was no proof that her mother wasn't compassionate. Like her mother before her, Anne had tutors and governesses oversee her education while her parents took care of royal tasks. Anne began her boarding school career at the esteemed Benenden School in Kent in 1963 at the age of 13. Anne became more self-reliant and accomplished academically after leaving home and family, despite the difficulty of the adjustment. Anne had accomplished a remarkable feat, given her royal duties, by 1968, having obtained 6 GCEO levels and 2 A levels. Princess Anne has a lifelong love of horses and a heavy burden of crucial duties as a member of the royal family. How did she juggle both roles, and what terrible truth about King Charles did she expose? Find out by continuing to watch. A life of royal duty and horse passion, Princess Anne. The spotlight, however, quickly shifted to her love of horses. A noteworthy feature of Princess Anne's life is her equestrian career. She first gained attention as a serious competitor on the world stage in the early 1970s. Anne made history in 1971 when she became the first British royal to ever win a European championship in any sport, the individual championship at the European Eventing Championships. Anne competed at the 1976 Montreal Olympics as a Great Britain eventer, despite suffering from a number of injuries. In an arena where her princess position was no longer a guarantee of success, Anne found purpose and an escape from convention via equestrianism. She was also a competitor in horse racing, showing up at Royal Ascot for the Diamond Stakes and Sandown Park Racecourse for the Grand Military Steeplechase. After more than 5 years of representing Great Britain in eventing, Anne took home silver in the 1975 European Eventing Championship for both individuals and teams. She competed in the badminton horse trials 5 times between 1971 and 1979, with 4th place in 1974 and 6th place in 1979. She finished 4th in a 1985 charity Epsom Derby horse race. From 1986 until 1994, Anne presided over the Fédération Equestria Internationale. As a competitor on the BBC panel game, A Question of Sport, on the 5th of February 1987, she made history as the first member of the royal family to appear on a television quiz show. From 1971 until her election as president in 1985, the princess has been an active supporter of the Riding for the Disabled Association. She continues to retain this post to this day. Anne was sent to Southmead Hospital in June 2024 for treatment of minor injuries and a concussion, the latter of which was thought to have been caused by coming into touch with the legs or head of a horse. Along with her accomplishments, Princess Anne's life was characterized by her royal obligations. As a public person, she navigated the difficulties of royal engagements from the age of 18. the introduction of royal walkabouts in the 1970s was one difficult component. The goal of these public appearances was to make the royal family more approachable, but Anne, particularly as a teenager, found them challenging. Anne said she despised walkabouts in an interview. She found personal joy in her equestrian accomplishments, but she was still confronted with the complications of royal life. Being born a princess wasn't something Anne wanted. Thus, she felt resentful of her responsibilities and expectations. Anne, who was the second child of Queen Elizabeth II, rode to great success and served her country with honor. She continues to live by the principle of selflessness that her brother, King Charles, instilled in her throughout their reign. As a member of the royal family, Princess Anne assisted Queen Elizabeth with her responsibilities as head of state by attending significant state and ceremonial events and representing the Queen at engagements both at home and abroad. Several ceremonial engagements were attended by the Princess Royal each year by Queen Elizabeth as part of her duties as a working member of the royal family. Remembrance Day at the Cenotaph and Trooping the Color were among these activities. The gathering of the royal family is a time for national pride and commemoration, as well as a time for celebration and meditation when the people come together to express their support for the Queen. The Princess Royal also played an important role as a British ambassador, spreading awareness of British culture and interests across the world. In addition to her charitable travels, she would go on as many as 3 international tours each year on behalf of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Meetings with local authorities and legislators and receptions with prominent local businesses were common components of these trips. She was the UK's delegate to major international gatherings. Officially visiting the Soviet Union as a guest of the government in 1990, she made history as the first member of the royal family to do so. Additionally, the Princess Royal backed Queen Elizabeth's initiatives to honor and celebrate Commonwealth and UK accomplishments. At various points during the year, she would act as the Queen's representative during investments, presenting medals to those recognized in the New Year's Honours List or the Queen's Birthday Honours List. As a guest at garden parties at Buckingham Palace and the Palace of Holyrood House, the Princess Royal met individuals from many walks of life, including community volunteers and service members. Princess Anne was active in charitable activity, in addition to her royal duties. With all the things she had to tend to, how did she manage to keep up? Be sure to tune in to find out. Princess Anne's life of service and philanthropy. Princess Anne is formally associated with more than 200 different nonprofits. She was heavily involved with Save the Children, first as president and then as a patron. Anne has been to South Africa, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Sierra Leone, and Bangladesh to see the organization's programs. In 1990, President Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia nominated her for the Nobel Peace Prize for her work. Back in 1991, she established the Princess Royal Trust for Carers. She has benefited countless young people via her work with St. John Ambulance as Commandant-in-Chief of St. Dove, John Ambulance Cadets, and she attends the Grand Prior Award ceremony annually. Additionally, she supports St. Andrew's First Aid as a patron. The world's largest non-governmental medical ships are operated by Mercy Ships, an international charity, which she joined as a patron in 2021. Along with her time on the London Organizing Committee, Anne now serves as an administrator for the International Olympic Committee, where she represents the United Kingdom. On top of that, she heads the British Olympic Association as its president. Anne was a member of the British Olympic Committee's delegation to the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. Upon the Queen Mother's retirement in 1981, Anne was chosen Chancellor by the University of London's graduates and has remained in this role ever since. From 1973 to 2001, she served as the president of BAFTA. Anne was the High Commissioner to the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland for Her Majesty from May 1996 until her reappointment in 2017. Following in her grandmother's footsteps, she was awarded Grand Master of the Royal Victorian Order by the Queen in 2007. She has the esteemed title of Royal Fellow in the fields of medicine and the Royal Society. Members of the royal family are nominated and elected as Royal Fellows by the Society's Council. 4 members have been appointed to the esteemed Royal Society as of the year 2022. Among them are King Charles, Prince William, Edward, Duke of Kent, and Anne. The Academy of Medical Sciences has its first Royal Fellow in her. After her father resigned as Chancellor of the University of Edinburgh in 2010, Anne was elected to the position and took over on the 31st of March 2011. The same year she succeeded her father as President of the Royal Society of Arts, she also became President of the City and Guilds of London Institute and Master of the Corporation of Trinity House. The Commonwealth Study Conference, which Anne's father founded, has been led by Anne as its president. She succeeded the Duke of Kent as president of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission in 2023. Anne also serves as a patron for TransAid, a non-profit organization that was established by the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport and Save the Children to provide developing nations with safe and sustainable transportation. She promotes science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields to young women as the Royal Patron of WISE. She served as honorary chair of the Illuminating Future Generations Initiative, which sought to raise funding for the National Lighthouse Museum's gallery area in 2022. She became the Master of the Worshipful Company of Carmen in 1986. The Worshipful Company of Farmers appointed her master in 2001. While continuing her role as a governor at Gresham School, Anne was appointed Prime Warden of the Worshipful Company of Fishmongers in 2017. Amidst her responsibilities as a princess, Princess Anne discovered love. How will her love life unfold for her? Will it be smooth sailing or a wild roller coaster? Be sure to tune in to find out. Princess Anne's turbulent love life, her marital scandal. In her private life, Princess Anne did not have a picture-perfect existence. There was a lot of public attention and pomp around her first marriage, which was to Mark Phillips, who was a member of the Queen's Dragoon Guards. The two of them had a mutual passion for equestrianism when they first met in 1968 at a gathering for horse enthusiasts. They were engaged in May of 1973, and their wedding took place in Westminster Abbey, which was seen by 100 million people all around the world. Despite this, their marriage was plagued by a secretive affair. There were reports that Anne and Mark were cheating on one another, with Phillips being associated with a number of different women and Anne being tied to actor Anthony Andrews and her bodyguard. Lieutenant Commander Timothy Lawrence, who served as the Queen's equerry, was the subject of the most serious conjecture. The marriage of Princess Anne to Mark Phillips had announced that they were no longer together in 1989. A DNA test revealed that Phillips had a kid with Heather Tonkin, a New Zealand art teacher. This brought about the ultimate blow to Phillips's reputation. In 1992, the couple finalized their divorce, bringing an end to a marriage that had been fraught with both public and private turmoil. On the other hand, Anne's second marriage, which took place in December 1992 and was to Commander Timothy Lawrence, was a private and modest affair. There were just 30 people present at the wedding that took place in Kay Kirk, which is located close to Balmoral. It was a basic attire that Anne wore, in contrast to the extravagant wedding gown that she donned for her previous marriage. The life that Timothy and his family led was not very high profile, and he did not acquire a peerage. Anne was able to find peace with Timothy, although she had been involved in controversies in the past. In the course of her life, Princess Anne has had horrific situations. Can you imagine what scary times this may be? Maintain your attention to discover out. Princess Anne's terrifying moments. A horrific incident occurred on 20 March 1974. On their way back to Buckingham Palace, Anne and Mark Phillips were caught in a traffic jam when a Ford escort car blocked their way. Ian Ball injured James Beaton, Anne's bodyguard. Alex Callender, Anne's driver, and journalist Brian McConnell were also injured. However, Anne refused to take part in Ian's plot for the National Health Service, saying she was not even capable of doing so. Fortunately for Anne, Ron Russell, a former boxer and pedestrian, helped Anne escape. Ian was arrested by police shortly after their arrival, after a short chase. The tragedy shocked the nation, even though Anne was not injured. In the future, her brother, now known as King Charles, expressed great concern for her health and advocated tighter royal security measures. This event not only changed the way the royal family was protected, but also cemented Anne's reputation as a courageous lady. In the build-up to the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, Princess Anne encountered another setback. During training, she suffered a serious accident in which her horse fell and rolled over her. Anne suffered a broken vertebrae, a concussion, and bruising from the incident. She made an amazing recovery, although she suffered memory loss and spent several days in hospital. Just a few weeks later, she was back on her horse, determined to pursue a place on the Olympic team. Back in 2002, Princess Anne was once again in the spotlight. This time, it was because of an incident involving her dog Dowdy. While Dowdy was walking 3 bull terriers, they knocked 2 children off their bicycles. It was said that Anne had no control over her dog. Unlike most royals who were spared, Anne was forced to face the consequences. She pleaded guilty, paid a fine, and Dowdy was ordered to undergo training. After this incident, Anne became the only member of the British royal family to be convicted of a crime in royal history. King Charles, who appreciated her down-to-earth attitude, quietly supported her through the pain she went through. Princess Anne not only had to deal with public issues, but also personal grief. She lost her father, Prince Philip, in 2021. Her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, passed away in September 2022, just over a year after she was born. She was 96 years old. In a short period, the royal family suffered the terrible loss of both parents. Despite this, Anne continued to be an influential and consistent figure, supporting King Charles as he continued to ascend the throne. Anne was reportedly in charge of family matters and welcomed Prince Harry when he came to pay his respects. Her ability to remain calm in the face of a deeply personal tragedy earned her the admiration of both the public and her family. Knowing that Anne remained calm, King Charles often turned to her for guidance and support. To better understand the relationship between King Charles and Princess Anne, let's take a look at King Charles's childhood and upbringing. To find out, follow along. Early life and education of King Charles. The 14th of November, 1948, was the day when Charles was born, and his grandpa, King George VI, was still reigning at the time. His mother, Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Edinburgh, who would later become Queen Elizabeth II, and his father, Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, welcomed their first child together. Buckingham Palace was the location where Charles was delivered via cesarean section. Anne was born in 1950, Andrew was born in 1960, and Edward was born in 1964. His parents went on to have 3 additional children in the years that followed. He was given the name Charles Philip Arthur George on the 15th of December, 1948, and the ceremony took place in the music room of Buckingham Palace. Geoffrey Fisher, the Archbishop of Canterbury, presided over the ceremony. Because Charles's mother became Queen Elizabeth II after the death of King George VI on the 6th of February 1952, Charles became the heir apparent to the throne from that point on. Charles, as the oldest son of the king, was immediately bestowed with the usual titles of Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Rothesay, in addition to some additional titles within the Scottish peerage. During the next year, George was present at Westminster Abbey for the crowning of his mother. Charles became the first heir to the throne to attend a school rather than being educated by a private tutor when he began attending Hill House School in West London in November of 1956. Hill House School is located in the City of London. The headmaster, Stuart Townend, handled Charles in the same manner as he would any other student. He even suggested that Charles play football in order to guarantee that he would not receive any preferential treatment on the pitch. Charles and his family relocated to Cheam School in Hampshire in 1958. This was one of the institutions that Charles's father had attended. After that, in April of 1962, he attended Gordonstown, which was located in Scotland and was another of his father's previous schools. Charles subsequently complimented Gordonstown for teaching him a lot about himself, although he had previously referred to the school as colitis and kilts, owing to the harsh environment it provided. This was even though he had experienced early difficulties at Gordonstown, which had a reputation for being quite severe. He stated that he was happy that he attended the school in 1975, although he believed the reputation of the institution as being difficult was overstated. The year 1966 was the year when Charles attended Geelong Grammar School in Victoria, Australia, at the Timbertop campus for a total of 2 semesters. It was around this time that he went to Papua New Guinea on a school trip with his history teacher, Michael Collins, in this particular instance. Afterward, Charles expressed that his time spent at Timbertop was the most beneficial aspect of his schooling. When he went back to Gordonstown, he followed in his father's footsteps and became the head boy of the school. He received grades of B and C in history and French, and he graduated in 1967 with a total of 6 levels and 2 levels in both subjects. While Charles reflected on his schooling, He stated that he did not love school as much as he may have expected to because he was normally happier while he was at home. When Charles finished his A-levels, he decided against entering the British Armed Forces and instead went directly to university. This decision was a departure from the royal tradition. To begin his academic career, he enrolled in Trinity College in Cambridge in October of 1967. Initially, he focused his studies on archaeology and anthropology. However, he eventually shifted his focus to history during the second half of his education. In the course of his second year, Charles attended the University College of Wales in Aberystwyth for a single term. There, he participated in the study of Welsh history and acquired the ability to speak Welsh. When Charles graduated from the University of Cambridge in June 1970 with a Bachelor of Arts (BA) degree, with a grade point average of 2.2, he made history by becoming the first British heir to the throne to acquire a university degree. Following the customary procedure, his Bachelor of Arts degree was eventually elevated to that of a Master of Arts (MA Cantab) degree in August 1975. Although they are both committed to their royal duties, Princess Anne and King Charles have maintained a strong friendship ever since they were little. What were the factors that led to the formation of this connection and the subsequent strengthening of it over time? To discover out, stay tuned. The unbreakable bond of King Charles and Princess Anne. A relationship that cannot be severed between King Charles and Princess Anne, the royal couple. The fact that King Charles and Princess Anne had similar upbringings and experiences is the foundation of the unshakable tie that exists between them. Their connection as siblings has grown through adversity, fun, and profound loyalty as they have grown up together in the limelight, sharing both joys and responsibilities during their childhood. Their relationship is stronger than it has ever been, especially now that King Charles is seated on the throne and Anne is by his side. The fact that Charles and Anne are just 21 months apart in age led to the development of a strong relationship between them during their early childhood. The children were frequently looked after by nannies and governesses by their parents when they were out attending royal obligations. Anne was said to have been self-assured and outspoken even when she was a kid, frequently taking charge and disputing her brother's position as the future king, according to acquaintances of the family. The fact that Princess Anne and King Charles have a passion for horses and activities that take place outside helped to enhance their relationship when they were younger. Among their favorite activities were riding, going to polo tournaments, and traveling around the countryside. There were moments when Anne's self-assurance and spirit of adventure let her shine brighter than Charles, who respected her tenacity. A profound feeling of duty toward their family and the royal institution was shared by both of them, despite the fact that they engaged in fun sibling rivalry. It was on momentous occasions, such as the passing of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, that their closeness became obvious to the general public. When Charles was getting ready to become king, Anne was there to support him. In the course of the funeral procession, their unbreakable link became abundantly obvious. The consistent support that Anne provided was evidence of the profound relationship that they maintained. Since the gold stick in waiting for Charles's coronation, Anne had a crucial role since she was responsible for ensuring the safety of the monarch through her duties. Both her commitment and Charles's confidence in her were reflected in this distinction. The fact that Anne rode behind Charles throughout the parade demonstrated that she was a vital component of his rule. As of late, the relationship between them as siblings has changed, as King Charles has become increasingly dependent on Anne, who is now one of his most trusted confidants. To alleviate the strain that his position entails, Anne serves as a stable pillar by taking on obligations. In February 2024, when Charles announced that he had been diagnosed with cancer, Anne discreetly stepped up to the plate, stepping in for him while keeping her hectic schedule of royal activities. Even though Anne is one of the busiest royals, her dedication to her brother has not changed. Respect has been garnered by her inside the royal family and beyond as a result of her unwavering support and devotion. A close friendship exists between King Charles and Princess Anne, which goes beyond their duties and responsibilities. Throughout his coronation ceremonies, Anne lovingly referred to Charles as Old Bean, which was one of the humorous moments that they thoroughly loved. This conversation between siblings demonstrates the real fondness that they have for one another. Despite their official titles and royal responsibilities, they are brothers and sisters who are connected by the experiences they have had together and the respect they have for one another. They have struggled with personal issues throughout their lives, but they have found strength in their connection to one another. When their parents passed away, Anne was there to support Charles, and Charles was there for her when she was going through the divorce process with Mark Phillips. When Charles was ascending to the throne, Anne witnessed the effect that the burden of duty was having on him. It was in private that she voiced her worry for his health and well-being. Because of the tight relationship that exists between Princess Anne and King Charles, we are curious about the nature of her relationship with Queen Camilla. Was it a love-based connection, or was there any animosity between the two of them? Maintain your attention to discover out. A source of conflict within the royal family is the tense relationship between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla. The connection between Anne and Queen Camilla, on the other hand, is more complicated. Even though they are members of the same royal family, they have never really interacted with one another. The fact that Camilla takes a more laid-back attitude to royal obligations, in contrast to Anne's strong work ethic and sense of responsibility, is a source of aggravation for both of them. When Camilla went on vacation after King Charles was diagnosed with cancer, it was a prominent instance of the contrasts that existed between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla over their relationship. Anne, who had accepted more royal obligations without expressing any dissatisfaction, during a period of staff shortages and a crisis caused by an excessive amount of work, Anne had a difficult time comprehending why Camilla needed respite after only a few engagements. It was seen by many with knowledge of the royal family that Anne was able to conceal her displeasure despite the rising doubts over Camilla's commitment. While Anne maintained a conciliatory stance in public, she privately expressed doubts about Camilla's capacity to fulfill the position of queen. From this point forward, let us delve into the specifics of the message that Princess Anne conveyed to King Charles. Will this message strengthen or weaken their connection with one another? Maintain your attention to discover out Princess Anne's shocking message to King Charles. Anne left Charles a touching message after his cancer diagnosis in February 2024. This would be considered her greatest sacrifice. Princess Anne gave King Charles a surprising message following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. A sincere message conveying her desire to be disregarded from his intentions for her fortune was sent by her. Even Queen Camilla was taken aback by this altruistic deed. At a family gathering, Anne stared at Camilla with unwavering focus, while Charles, who was about to cry, found it difficult to accept his sister's sacrifice. The preservation of the monarchy and Anne's profound feeling of responsibility informed her decision. She spared King Charles a great deal of financial hardship by cutting herself off from her mother's bequest. There is no 40% inheritance tax in Britain. The whole estate can go to the next monarch. Sister Anne, being the doting one, was reluctant to obstruct this effectiveness. With the sovereign gift, Princess Anne, the only daughter of the Queen and a devoted working royal, could perform her responsibilities without interruption. Prince Andrew and Prince Edward were her brothers, but she chose to use her own money for personal matters. Anne gave up her considerable personal fortune, worth an estimated $850 million, to ensure the monarchy's financial stability. The selflessness of Anne baffled Queen Camilla, who was shocked by Anne's decision. The public views Camilla as unsuited for the role of the queen because of her egocentric attitude, and many think her astonishment was caused by her incapacity to understand the magnitude of the sacrifice. After receiving Anne's gift, King Charles was moved. Their devotion and concern for one another form a strong tie. He was deeply impressed by Anne's readiness to put the monarchy ahead of her interests. Anne did not inherit anything directly from her mother, no matter how devoted she was to her mother's cause. Princess Anne is remarkable for more than just her devotion to her responsibilities. She also possesses an unexpected quality. What is the one surprising thing about Princess Anne that has just come to light? We'll have to see. The unconventional side of Princess Anne. Since turning 18, Anne has attended more than 20,000 events, earning her a reputation as the most reliable pillar of the royal family and a symbol of traditional public duty. Despite being second in line to the throne, she chose not to bestow royal titles on her children when they were young. In 1982, she upset many people by asking cameramen to participate in a badminton horse competition. According to Vanity Fair, Anne learned her father's wit and quick wit. According to Anne, who reflected on her early public activities, the important thing is not to be recognized for one's achievements, but to serve. Because I needed to understand the job, which required experiencing everything myself, it took me about 10 years to feel comfortable enough to speak, except for public conversations with children. My first trips were very important. Of all the royals, Anne is often considered the most hardworking, having completed 11,088 engagements between 2002 and 2022. To this day, Anne remains one of Britain's most beloved royals. Her tireless work ethic has earned her the nickname a national treasure from Telegraph editor Camilla Tominey, who has also hailed her as one of Britain's great eccentrics. For Tominey, Anne's public persona is a combination of strict adherence to the rules and occasional rule-breaking. Anne is very independent. She does her own hair and makeup and even drives herself to events, despite receiving 2 tickets for being late. On walks, she chooses not to shake hands with people, saying that it is impossible to shake everyone's hand. She has been seen queuing for her daughter's horse races and mending fences at Gatcombe. Notable organizations that Anne has supported include the National Lighthouse Museum and the Wet Wheels Foundation, the former of which works to increase access to sailing. She refused to retire when asked about it by the BBC and Vanity Fair on her 60th and 70th birthdays, citing the example of her parents and her commitment to royal duties. Despite her reputation for not being easily offended, Anne always tried to be genuinely kind and generous. Princess Anne sent a heartbreaking message to King Charles. What do you think about this? How did King Charles deserve Princess Anne's selfless act? Leave a comment with your thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. To see the latest celebrity news, just click on the video that appears on your screen. See you later.